My name is Chris Duray. I am the brand manager for Rupert Neve Designs. We are here at the AES show in Los Angeles. We have a cardboard Rupert over here because the man himself couldn't come by. We've got the logo, we've got a console, we've got all sorts of goodies, 50s, 60s over there. But what everybody has been coming by to see is our new product, which is the Shelford Channel. So that's on this podium in front of us here. Essentially, the Shelford Channel is our most vintage piece that we have done yet. This is what people have asked for a lot. Our Portico modules have been very well received. Portico 2 stuff's been very well received. It's used by a lot of people around the world. But everybody always said, why don't you make another 1073? Why don't you make a 2254? So essentially, they love the vintage stuff. They love the character. And you know, Rupert's never wanted to do the same thing twice, which is why he did not do another 1073. I mean, there's a million companies that make their versions of Rupert's gear, and people always said, well, why don't you just do it? Why doesn't Rupert do it and take ownership of it? I mean, it's his design from back in the day. But essentially, he's not interested in repeating himself. He's interested in progress. And at this point, we have finally managed to convince him that there are some things that deserve to be repeated, some things that are classic for a reason, and we can certainly modernize them with a couple of improvements. So that in essence, is what the Shelford Channel is. So the Shelford Channel uses some pieces from the Shelford modules, the 5051 and 5052, which you can actually see in the console over there in the penthouse section along the top right there, just above the master section. So those modules have an EQ in them that was a very special EQ when we developed it. This is an inductor EQ, which was Rupert's first in several decades. Inductor EQs are very thick, they saturate easily, they have a particular tone to them that everybody really likes, and that's what this EQ came from. But other than that, the rest of the Shelford Channel is brand new for this show. This direct input, all the way on the left here, this is essentially an RNDI. The transformer's a little different, but the topology is about the same. So our new RNDI that bass players around the world have been loving in the last year is inside this box. Then this mic pre is the real special part. This is Rupert's first transformer gain mic pre in over 40 years. So what that means is that the actual transformer, it's a direct couple design. Microphone gets plugged in, hits a transformer. The transformer itself provides the first 15 dB of gain in the circuit.
That's got to get you an interesting sound.
Absolutely. That is where a lot of, when people think of a vintage character from a lot of the older mic pre's like the 1073, and you look at the input stages on that series and that era from the early 70s, that's a large part of what makes up that sound, is that transformer, direct coupled transformer input. So then the rest of the gain is FET, discrete Class A. I mean, it's the type of amplification circuits that are in a lot of our other gear, but that initial transformer is very special and is unique to this box right here. Then we've got the EQ, which I said came from the other Shelford modules, the 5051 and 52. This is like a best of EQ. So it's an inductor design as opposed to capacitor based. So it's very easily saturated as opposed to being very clean and wide open. It's got a nice thickness to it. Essentially, this is the low band from a 1064. It's the mid band from a 1073. And it's a high band from a 1073 until you push in for the 16K portion of it, which is a capacitor-based circuit, but that's more modern, it's more open, more high-end. And unlike the older ones, you can switch these between peak and shelf. You have adjustable Q on the mid-range, so it's a more flexible version of the favorite bands from the 1064, 1073, and modern.
Very cool.
Then we have a compressor. This is also brand new. This is a diode bridge compressor design, which is different from the other Rupert Neve Designs compressors, because the other stuff from us, like in the master bus processor or the Portico 2 channel, is a VCA compressor. They're very clean, they're very fast, they're very dynamic, very, very powerful tools, but they don't really have, if you're tracking a vocalist and you want vibe, you want the gooey compressor, that's what this sort of thing is for. This is a diode bridge compressor. It's based on the 2254. That's what it sounds like, but it has actual timing options on it, which you didn't have in the old stuff. You've got a full parallel path with this blend control right here. It's stereo linkable. It has a sidechain insert, or you can send.
So you can do parallel compression right in the box.
Absolutely, right here. And you can link 2 of them. You can link 5 of them. You can link 6 of them. There are 2 link jacks on the back, so you can chain as many of them together as you want with a sidechain voltage signal. You can do 5.1, or if you're adventurous, 7 or 11 or however many channels people are using these days. There's a pre or post EQ button here, so the comp can be inserted before or after the EQ section. And high-pass filter to sidechain moves the high-pass filter from the mic pre over here over to the compressor section instead. So you can use that. Finally, on the output is a circuit that some of you may be familiar with already, which is the silk circuit, the silk texture. This is variable negative feedback across the output transformer. What does this mean? What this means is that when this is turned off, it's a fairly clean output stage. Silk red, as you turn it up, you're amplifying harmonics that are generated by the high frequencies and high mids of whatever source material you're feeding it. Blue, same thing, but for lows and low mids instead of highs. So this lets you tune your harmonics across the physical output stage of the unit. And if you actually can swing around to the back of the unit for a minute, you will notice that there are 2 line outputs on the back of this. One of them is line out, one of them is minus 6 dB line out. Essentially, this is a new transformer output. It is a dual tap transformer. So one of the taps has a headroom of around plus 26. The other has a around plus 20. That is the low headroom output. So if you want, you can use both of them simultaneously or one at a time, either way. But basically, if you do the low headroom output, you can overdrive this unit without clipping whatever you're going into. So in short, there are a lot of ways to make this unit saturate. That is why we made it, because what do people like about Rupert's gear? They like how it sounds when it saturates. That's what made the 1073 what it is. It's what makes all of his gear what it is. And this is finally when someone comes to us and says, do you make the 1073? We can say no, but we make this. And that's what this is. We've gotten amazing feedback from people. We did video shoot in Nashville last week with a bunch of guys who have been using vintage Neve gear for decades. They did A/B testing with their gear, with the new Shelford Channel. They said it nails it. It does everything the old stuff does, but it's more flexible. And especially the most poetic comment we got was that this Shelford Channel is like a time machine for some of these guys, because we don't know what we don't remember. We who are talking and reading this stuff, we don't know what a 1073 sounded like in 1972. We have no idea.
The phrase I was thinking of was like classic Neve sound construction kit.
Essentially. I mean, we don't remember the sound of a 1073 when it was brand new. And the guys in Nashville that we showed this to early, who were part of our beta testers, basically said, this must be what it was like. That's how it sounds to them. That's how it behaves to them. And that's what we were going for. So we're really excited about it, and it's a proud piece for us. We worked really hard on it, and it is shipping now. Essentially, it starts shipping this week out to our dealers around the country and the world. The street price on it is $24.95.